were addressed with the new tall knuckle suspension, better load distribution, improved roll center height. So that's kind of the invisible point that the chassis kind of pivots off of. And enhanced steering geometry. And really what all three of these do is inspire confidence and increase vehicle stability and durability. And it's really designed to just give you the best riding experience possible. So this will go through just kind of the basic specs. So the Maverick R is 77 inches wide. Front suspension is 25 inches. Rear suspension is 26 inches on the XRS. On the X model, it's 25.5, and on the base model, the rear suspension is 25 inches. So the base model and the X have a smaller tire, it's a 30-inch tire with a 15-inch wheel, and a little less bottoming resistance, we'll say, so that's where you get that little bit of variance in the suspension travel. And the industry-leading ground clearance at 17 inches. So although this vehicle hypothetically sits up higher with more ground clearance, the center of gravity is actually very similar to where the X3 is, which is a little bit lower. When we're talking about the tall knuckle suspension, it's all about spreading the forces that are coming laterally and transferring them away from the suspension components and stressing them. So when we're able to separate out those ball joints, we're actually changing the leverage that we have working against the wheel. So some of the statistics, you'll see the front suspension arm load reduction of 85%. So having that split tall spindle and having the ball joints spread apart reduces it 85% versus X3. And 15% on the tie rods. And the rear suspension, we did a tall knuckle too, since everyone was so impressed with how the front one looked. We did a rear one. And it's really the same. It's all about changing those forces and how they work against the wheel and into the chassis. So you wanna help me out again? This is just a kind of a cool example that I saw at Club that helped my mind visualize how that works. So basically his hands close together are how a traditional A-arm front suspension would work. We're really confined with packaging everything inside the wheel, right? That's where the spindle's typically located. We're kind of combined with keeping everything inside that wheel.
So
what happens?
That's the top A-arm, this is the bottom A-arm, and they're inside the wheel, they can't really open up anymore.
Yep, so now when we hit stuff, we have a lot of leverage up here, right? Now, we're gonna go to our tall knuckle spindle. We have it spread out. Now we have a lot less leverage working through that. So you can kind of use that in your show floor to help maybe understand a little bit of the physics behind it. And really kind of the bigger thing here too is within the suspension design, a vehicle always has a center of gravity. We just talked about it. Yes, this has a higher ground clearance, but where the engine, transmission, a lot of the heavier components are mounted, the center of gravity stays lower. With the suspension design, there's always a roll center. Think of that as kind of the axis that the vehicle is going to pivot out of or off of. So as we get that roll center a little bit closer to the center of gravity, we make a little bit smaller lever. So instead of having all the leverage way down here and able to put a lot of force back and forth on the chassis, we're moving it up, lot less lever, lot less leverage, lot less body roll. It's 50% less than an X3.